Okay, let's go with part 2, Harbinger of the Tides. So, the previous version, when it was Thassa, had a merfolk sub-theme. I kept all the wizards from that sub-theme, so he made the cut. 2 for a 2/2. I could spend 2 more and cast him as a flasher. Comes in play, return target tapped creature to its owner's hand. And opponent controls to its owner's hand. Someday I should really read all my cards and try to remember what the hell they do. Someday. And not today. Lol Mage Mentor. 5. No, 3. Ah, it's even better than I thought. 3 for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever a spell or ability I control counters a spell, I get a 1/1 Merfolk creature. I can tap 7 Merfolk to counter spell. Now, with Mirkwood Nexus, those are Merfolk Wizard creatures. Merfolk Elf creatures. Merfolk Everything creatures. So Coat of Arms becomes more impressive. Here she is, Mages of the Unseen. I have another one in Animar. And she's a card that I love the art. I kind of like the idea of what it can do. But it just hasn't been relevant in any game that I've ever played. So, 1 colorless, 1 blue tap, and I steal an artifact for a turn. Now, if there's nothing that impressive, if, you know, they've got a soul ring, or, I don't know, some sword. Since I don't control it, I can't equip it. But I can take it away from them for a turn. This card, I'm more interested to see how it actually plays out than anything else. Because like I said, I've not been able to use her abilities to the fullest. And with the liquid metal coating, I'm very interested to see if she becomes more relevant, more interesting. Master of Waves, 4 for a 2/1, comes into play, count my devotion, get a 1/0 elemental for each pointed devotion to blue I have. And of course with Mirkwood Nexus, those are wizard elementals. And he's going to pump up all my wizards because Mirkwood Nexus turns them into elementals too. Nice to have options. Nice to have some sort of theme and symmetry. Merfolk Trickster. 2 for a 2/2 flasher. Comes into play, tap target creature, loses all abilities until end of turn. Anybody that plays Merfolk knows about this card. Knows it can be game breaking sometimes. It can take out an attacker. If it's flying, you can bring it to the ground. If it's indestructible, it loses that. So, solid card. Patron Wizard. He is one of the key cards in the deck. 3 for a 2/2, tap an untapped wizard I control. Counter target spell unless that spell's controller pays 1. So the more wizards I have, the better he gets. And I just love that Donato Giancola art. He's one of my favorite artists. Phyrexian Metamorph. I'm kind of counting this as in the wizard section, in the creature section. Not sure. There's nothing specific I want to copy. It's just having the option to copy whatever I want. So of course 3 and a blue, or 3 and 2 life, Phyrexian Mana. For a 0/0 shapeshifter, when it comes into play, copy target artifact or creature. Alright. Realm Right. So this is another one of the lower cast wizards. 1 for a 1/1. He has a specific purpose in here though. If I have Cage Sun, then all of my non-basic lands will become islands as well, and so they would tap for 2 blue if I needed it. Riptide Director, 4 for 2/3, spend 4, tap, draw a card for every wizard I control. Scott M. Fisher, another fantastic artist. Sage of Fables, 3 for a 2/2. Each of the wizard creature I control enters play with an additional +1/+1 counter. And then I can spend 2 remove a counter to draw a card. This should count the tokens too. When the tokens come into play, I'm going to have to look that up on Gatherer. Yeah, I've been playing for a long time, but there's still some fine rules that trip me up, because I don't play that often anymore. Not as much as I'd like. Sigil Tracer. Now, she was in the Thassa deck. 3 for 2/2. 1 colorless from blue. Tap her and 2 untapped wizards I control. Copy target instant or sorcery, and I may choose new targets for the copy. It'd be nice if she countered it, and only I get the copy. But so if somebody's going to hit one of my creatures with swords to plowshares, I can copy it, but my creature is still going to get hit. Sower of Temptation. 4 for a 2/2 flyer. Comes into play. Steal a creature for as long as I control Sower of Temptation. Yeah. Stony Brook Angler. I can tap her and tap creatures. So I should have Fate Stitcher in here, but I couldn't find one by the time I had everything else ready. So I went ahead and went with him. He's kind of cool. Plus he's a merfolk, so he counts for the low mage mentor. Teferi, Mage of Zalfir. 5 for a 3/4 flasher, and he gives all my other creatures flash. And he gives my opponents the magical ability of they can only cast spells as sorceries. You're welcome, opponents. Here's my alternate win condition. So 2 for a 1/3. I have no maximum hand size. I can spend 4 to draw a card, and if I have 13 cards in my hand during my upkeep, yep, at the beginning of my upkeep, if I have exactly 13 cards in my hand, I win the game. Probably going to get swords. Vidalian Mastermind. To return, speaking of swords, so if somebody targets one of my creatures with swords, I copy it with I just forgot the name. Where is she? Sigil Tracer. So I copy the swords with Sigil Tracer, and I bounce my creature back to my hand. So their creature gets swords from the copy, my creature gets bounced back to my hand. Inshallah, if everything works right. This isn't really... the abilities I'm not too concerned about in this deck. I mean, 3 for a 3/1 flyer, that's pretty good. Flash. Comes into play, can attack during my next turn, following the flashing into play. Look at target player's hand, choose a card, if I want to, and they put that on the bottom, and then draw a card. So if I've got nothing else going on, I can do that to myself. Venser. 4 for a 2/2 flasher. Comes into play, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Void Mage Husher. I'm kind of surprised I don't see her more often. So when she comes into play, counter target activated ability. And when I play a spell, I can return her to my hand, and she's got flash. So in other decks, sometimes he just kind of sits in my hand and does nothing. Other times, she comes in a key moment and saves me. Void Mage Prodigy. 2 blue for 2/1 blue, sacrifice wizard, counter target spell. Normally he's the one that gets sacrificed, but if I've got a bunch of tokens, I'll let those go instead. Water Trap Weaver. So unfortunately she does not have flash. But she's 3 for a 2/2. Comes to play. Tap target creature and opponent controls. It does not untap during their next untap step. So it can keep something down for a turn. Willbender. Obviously I'd be playing him as a morph. So he wouldn't count as a wizard until I flip him over to redirect the target single target of a spell or ability. And here we go. Willbreaker. 5 for a 2/3. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is target of a spell or ability I control, I steal it. So, if I have her, turn something to an artifact with the liquid metal coating, I get it. But I've got something special for her. Let's look at the spells. So we start off with Capsize, kind of basic. 3, buy back 3, bounce a permanent to its owner's hand. Counterspell, does what it says, and says what it does. Cryptic Command, signed. So, more options. Counter target spell and draw a card are usually what is chosen, but at a key moment I can also tap down my opponent's creatures so they can't attack me or block me, depending on what I need at the time, or bounce something. What is the restriction on the bounce? To return target, there is no restriction. I can bounce a land. I'm very interested to see how this deck plays out. Foil, 4 for a counterspell, or I can discard an island and another card instead of paying the mana cost. And it's a foil. I love that. Opposition, 4 for an enchantment. Tap target untapped creature I control, tap target artifact, creature, or land. I'm not sure how this is going to work in the deck. I had one on hand, thought it could be interesting. So this is a card that's under valuation. Right of replication. The ideal play here is to kick it on Master of Waves and get a ton of elementals and beat people down with them. Had a really funny game with a new player where he had Goblin Churgeon out. I cast a kicked replication on his Goblin Churgeon, and he had been kind of picking up the game, had been paying attention, and seemed like he knew what was going on. And he didn't sacrifice the Goblin Churgeon to its own ability. So he let me have my 5 tokens, which let me win the game with the regeneration ability. Afterwards, I told him he could have sacrificed the Churgeon, and he said, "Why didn't you tell me that?" Well, you look like you knew what you were doing, and that you wanted the creature, and I was in a bad spot, so I kind of needed it. But it's a lesson he'll never forget, I'm sure. Right, now with Willbreaker, I have this. Sea King's Blessing. 1 blue for an instant. Any number of target creatures I choose become blue until end of turn. Since it targets, whatever I turn blue becomes subject to the Willbreaker's ability, and I can steal them. The fantasy with this one is if my buddy is playing his Ella Shorn deck and he has the Corvus Bell Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth combo, I can steal everybody's lands in addition to his. If I pull it off, that'll be hilarious. Okay, Time Spiral, the other graveyard recursion card I have in the deck. Reserve list, of course. 6, untap 6 lands. If you successfully cast it, everybody shuffles their hand, graveyard, library together and draws 7 cards, then exile Time Spiral. And I just love saying, Time Spiral! Okay, anyway. War Tax. I don't have Maze of Ith in the deck. I was able to get a War Tax foil kind of cheaply, and I thought, that'll go really well in here. So, my opponents say, alright, attack step, combat step. I'm going to smash somebody. Did you pay the War Tax? What War Tax? How about 4 this time? 4 colorless and a blue. Okay, you have to pay 4 for all your attacking creatures. You know, in theory. Wash out. kind of a limited board wipe. Choose a color, return all permanents of that color to their owner's hands. Wizard's Retort. Basically, it's just counterspell in this deck. I don't see too many times I won't have a wizard in play, so it's pretty much going to cost 2 blue whenever I want to cast it. Where this came from is I had a version of Merfolk where I was playing with 4 of these, and usually it was counterspell. But then when counterspell entered Modern, I said, right, I can get rid of these now. So I sold 2 back to the shop, kept 2 for myself, 1 for the art binder, 1 for a future deck, which turned out to be this one, and away I went. Castle Ventress. Enters battlefield tapped unless I have an island. I can tap it for blue, or I can spend 4 and scry 2. Deserted Temple. 1 tap and tap target land. Probably going to be used on Nykthos more than anything else. Ghost Quarter. Maybe my opponents have some nasty land, Guy's Cradle, Mace of Ith, something that's bothering me. Need to get rid of it. This will get rid of it. Halimar Depths. Comes into play, tapped, unfortunately. It'd be kind of sick if it didn't. Anyway, it's essentially an island that when it comes into play, look at the top 3 cards in the library, put them back in the order. High Market, to prevent creatures from being exiled or to get a bonus out of a blocker that's going to die anyway. Or perhaps an attacker that's going to die, who knows. Mutavault, so it goes very well with the tribal themes in the deck, Elemental or Wizard. Reliquary Tower, because I hate discarding cards if I'm drawing a bunch of cards. Riptide Laboratory. 1 colorless, 1 blue, tap. Return target wizard I control to my hand. This is really in for the art. I love Rebecca Gay's art. I love this. This is just a peaceful scene. I like looking at it. So, comes to play tapped. I can tap it to put a storage counter on it. Then I can remove any number of storage counters I feel like and add 1 blue for each one I remove. Of course, I can not take off more than I have, which is an important point. Temple of False God. Terrain Generator. Now, if I'm going to be drawing a lot of cards, and I'm playing mono blue, there's not too many ways of getting lands into play, except 1 per turn. So this will help speed things up a bit. And what's really nice, that's only basic lands, I forgot. Bloody hell. Thawing Glaciers, very slow way of getting lands into play, but it's reliable and dependable. Tower of the Magistrate. 1 tap target creature gains protection from artifacts till end of turn.